this is a Yeres HaKedesh about tzedakah. And the Alter Rebbe begins with something else, but if you talk about tzedakah, this Yeres HaKedesh is one page, and maybe you have hinted to 5 or 6 Yeres HaKedesh. It's like a summary of many things he said in other Yeres HaKedesh. Any person who is accustomed to come to a shul, one day he doesn't come, HaKadosh Baruch Hu she'el olav, the Eibishter asks about it. Shenem, as the pasuk says, Mi b'cham Yirei Hashem v'geimed. Where amongst you is the Yirei Hashem and so forth. This is true not just of Tainus as Alter, but of mitzvahs as well. But if a person always comes to a Dvar mitzvah and one day he misses, the Eibishter asks where he is. Doctor, mitzvahs at Docker, especially to Docker. School looking at it, call a mitzvah because it's with all the mitzvahs. God forbid a person should get stuck with a neder. In other words, he always is not mechuyev to get the stock. Nevertheless, call hachayif, any soldier that was touched by fear of heaven, even though it was only because it's not appropriate for their divine soul. Law says to give less in holiness. What they were accustomed to midei shana every year. To separate from their wealth. Mo'ed means moment. To give life to the spirit of those who are lowly and that are crushed. They have nothing of their own. Which is a reference to the poor people living in Eretz Yisrael, which is Sukkot David that has fallen. To stand them up and to lift them up and so forth. They also should live like we live. Therefore, if a person was accustomed to giving tzedakah and he gives less, it's terrible. You have to give it many times and you have to give a lot. In other words, you should give a lot of money, but you shouldn't give it in one shot. You should give it many, many different nesinas. All the pennies add up to a great cheshbon. Now the diuk is first of all kol pruta pruta. And the tithes kol pruta pruta, you should give it many times. Because by giving it many times, you have the mila, not just of Reva Cheshbon, which means a lot, but Reva Tzedakah. Zog the Alter Rebbe, when you have the mila of kol pruta pruta, which is the Reva Maiseh, then you have another mila. And the other mila is mitzarefes l'cheshbon gadol. What's the tithe mitzarefes l'cheshbon gadol? So he continues. The word Cheshbon Gadol, the key word is the word Gadol. And by the way, we already had earlier in the Yeres HaKedesh the Indian of Cheshbon Gadol. The Gemara says, when is the Eibishter considered Gadol? When he descends into the city of God. This means to say, the Eibishter is so great, you can't even call him Gadol. If you could say the Eibishter is Gadol, it's a Yerida. The Gemara says, if you see the greatness of God, it's His humility that you're observing. Because the true greatness of the Eibishter is impossible. So the pasuk says, when is Gadol Hashem be'ira lekeinu? The same is true here. Pruto mitzarefes, it adds up, but you want it to add up to Cheshbon Gadol, to a Cheshbon on the level of Gadol. What's it Gadol? It should come down to you in mathematics, in dollars. Because Ein Sof, you can't cash. You know Nishmachem at Ein Sof. What did I say? He bechines u'mokem ha-Cheshbon. The ira lekeinu was the level and place of Cheshbon. Cheshbon means numbers. Numbers means kamos, quantity. In atzmos, there's only echos. So you want that the pruta mitzarefes la-Cheshbon Gadol, a Cheshbon that you could count. In other words, you wanted the bracha should come back down. The Alter Rebbe, this is not just, it's tzedakah, but it's the Reva Maiseh. The eyes of Yid are blessed with Cheshbon, with something that you could count and measure. The intent is as it's known as follows. When you do a Seiras Mamata, an arousal from below, you draw down life and grace and kindness through your act of tzedakah. But when you give it with a good will, and with a pleasant countenance, the Eibishter should reciprocate the tzedakah, should give you back a hashpah in return for your giving So that what? Yarad Hashem panav. Hashem should shine His face, His countenance. What's the Eibishter's face? Hu ha'aretz v'am shachas. It's a light and a bringing down of chen v'chesed v'ratzon elyon. The grace and the kindness and the will of the Eibishter. In other words, you give tzedakah on a level of chen v'chesed. Chaim, chen v'chesed, the Eibishter gives you back chen v'chesed v'chaim. Michai yachai mein tzei baruch from the Eibishter who's infinite. Asher le'gedulah sayin cheki, and His gedulah is impossible to search. V'asaga, you can't understand it cloud whatsoever. El bechinas, when to compare it to malchus ha-malchus kalei lomim, to the malchus of the Eibishter, which is Alma, the Isgalia, the revealed world. Ha-machaya kol ha-bruim, which gives life to all the creations. Shebechol ha-yachos, in all of the worlds, al yenim v'dachtenim, the higher worlds and the lower worlds. Shein b'chilus mispah v'cheshbon, which does have mispah. Malchus of Atzilus is highest all the worlds. Malchus of Atzilus has mispah v'cheshbon. Its godliness has been sufficiently lowered that it has even numbers. Okay? Ein Sof is Ein Chek, it's beyond Gedula. What the Pasuk is, Elef Alafim Yishamshuna, that there's millions that serve the Eibishter, and the Alter Rebbe is assuming this goes on Malchus of Atzilus. Because higher than Malchus, you can't even say a number, a million. There's no numbers. Zeh Cheshbon Gadol, that's the Diak Cheshbon Gadol. Giving many, Shalom. There should be peace. What's made peace? Pirus, this means. Ki Pirus Shalom, who the type of Shalom is. Davar HaMachaber U'Metavech, that combines and resolves conflict between Beis, Ktovis, Hofchim, two opposite poles. Sheikh Te'ashmaim La'ela, which is the heavens of the edge of the heavens above, which is Bechinas V'Legulase and Cheket, the Gedula of the Eibush, which is beyond search. U'Te'ashmaim Latata, the end of the heavens below, which is Malchus of Atzilus. HaMislabish, which reveals itself beyond the lower world, Bechinas Gvul Mispad, in a limited and accountable way. And the pshat is, Cheshbon Gadol is you want to make Shalom in Stocker, that Blikavul and Mispad should converge. That the Eibush's bracha should come down. It shouldn't have made in the state of Blikavul, which is Lafay and Chayke. You have a lot of brachas, but you can't do anything with it. It's Panim of the Eibush. It should calm down also the Madega of Cheshbon Gadol. How? By going higher than Cheshbon, and higher than Bli Cheshbon, to a Madega called Shalom, which affects that the Bli Cheshbon should come down into Cheshbon. And now the Rebbe says this is achieved through the idea of Pruto Mitztarefes LaCheshbon Gadol. I guess the word is Mitztarefes LaCheshbon Gadol is that the Bli Gvul and the Gvul should be able to be brought together, which is higher than both. And Mitztarefes doesn't only mean connects. It's Lashon Tzidif, to fix and to repair and to make perfect. Okay.